He tries to call me, but by the time I realize it, he's off. And it didn't even, like, you're seeing this, right? Normally it says you missed a call from,
It didn't tell you?
well, it did say that, but, like, he should at least tell me he's gonna call me, so.
Right, yeah. But you were sleeping. What time did he call? Was you sleeping that whole time, dude?
When did he call? No. He called while I was on camera.
Oh, snap. Oh.
That's why I wish there was multiple. You could do multiple calls. Like, do a split screen thing or whatever. That way, we could both talk to him.
Right. I like that vanilla. Oh, how cute.
Yeah, me too.
I miss him. I wish he could.
Grandma's like, you should call them. I don't have the number. The only, wait, what? I don't have his number. The only way I could call him was on here. I feel better.
You do? Good. I'm glad. I hope you do.
Really, Nikki?
What there?
You and your mom wore the same thing to prom?
It was funny, so I had to, you know.
Alright. No. I didn't mean to worry you, you know?
Huh?
I didn't mean to. Oh. Don't answer that. I accidentally pushed it.
I'm ignoring that, okay?
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hit it. It just happened.
It's fine. I'm just glad that you're okay. Cause like you get me worried, I don't know. You're like I'm really super tired, so that's kind of scary.
Except for like 4. I woke up at like 4. I was watching a little bit of TV just to get used to my channel.
That's good, too. Well, no, cause I don't know. I was just freaking out for no reason.
I was trying to get used to my channels, you know. So I was trying to get used to my channels, you know. Come on. Another Destiny.
It looks like no, it don't look like this. There's ones that do though, but I think
Oh,
it's
here we go. Ninja, rap, ninja, rap. Go, ninja, go. Sorry.
Sword Art Online, Volume 1, Chapter 8.
He's
see if-
saving
The air surrounding the path through the forest was warm. It was almost as
Okay, what story? Will you just... Oh. Will you just work for Threadle? Hold on.
Okay.
We open up another thing. Yeah. Remind me to try this tomorrow because this is just
Is it messing up again?
messing up again.
I hate this. Why?
I don't know why. I honestly really don't. Anyway.
As if the dark feeling that had been present here last night was just an illusion. Sword Art Online, Volume 1, Chapter 8. The air surrounding the path through the forest was warm. It was almost as if the dark feeling that had been present here last night was just an illusion. The morning sun shined through the branches, making golden pillars of light which butterflies fluttered through. Sadly, these were only visual effects, so you couldn't catch me if you chased it down. As she crunched through the soft undergrowth, Asuna said teasingly, "You always wear the same things." Ah. I looked down at my body, a slack black leather jacket, a pair of pants, and a shirt of the same color. I had virtually no metal armor equipped. Well, so what? If you have enough money to spend on clothes, you better buy something to eat. Is there a practical reason that you're wearing all black, or is it just character expression? Well, what about you? You're always wearing that white and red thing. As I spoke, I started scanning the area by force of habit, without even thinking about it. There weren't any monsters around, but I can't help it. This is the guild uniform. Huh? Why? Wait a bit. I raised my right hand slightly and cut Asuna off. There was a player at the edge of my scan area. As I focused on the area behind me, numerous green cursors started flashing, showing that there were a lot of them. There was no chance that they were a group of bandits. Bandits always hunted for players that were weaker than them, so they were rarely seen around the front lines, where all the strongest players were. More importantly, whenever a player committed a crime, their cursor would turn orange and wouldn't turn back to green for a long time. What I was worried about was their numbers. I called the map from the main menu and put it on the show mode so that Asuna could see it. The map of the area was enhanced by my scan and showed the green cursors. 12 of them. That's a lot. I nodded at what Asuna said. Usually when there were too many members in a party, it became harder to fight as a group. So 5 or 6 was the total number. Look at that size. A crowd of lights that were fast approaching in this direction marched in neat lines of 2. Maybe this would happen in a dangerous dungeon, but it was rare to see such a large uniformed group on the field. If we could see the level of the members, we might be able to guess what they were doing. But the players couldn't even see the names of all the players that they met for the first time. It was a default system that was put in place to prevent players from PKing, player killing, too freely. But it also left us with no choice but to simply guess at their level by appraising their equipment. I closed the map and glanced at Asuna. We'll have to take a look at them. Let's hide behind the trees until they pass. Yeah, you're right. Asuna nodded with a tense expression. We climbed up a small mountain and crouched behind a shrub that came up to about our heights. It was a good position to observe the group as they passed by. Ah! Asuna suddenly looked at her clothes. The red and white uniform was pretty noticeable against the green plants. What should I do? I don't have any other equipment. The dots were pretty close now. We were getting within viewing distance. Excuse me for a bit. I opened my coat and covered Asuna with it as well. Asuna glared at me for a bit, but allowed me to cover her. The coat wasn't all that good to look at, but it gave a big hiding bonus. With all this, it would be pretty hard to notice us without a high scanning skill. Well, it's not good to look at, but it's pretty useful, right? I don't know. Shh! They're here! Asuna whispered and brought her fingers up to her lips. I crouched lower. The sound of footsteps reached my ears. Eventually, we could see the group walk away. They were all warriors. All of them were wearing the same black metal armor and green battle garb. Their equipment was all of practical design, except for a castle on each of their shields. 6 had one-handed swords, and the back 6 had halberds. They all had their visors down, so we couldn't see their expressions. As we watched 12 players march in perfect order, I even started thinking that they were a group of NPCs. I was sure now. They were members of a huge group that had made the city on the first floor of their HQ, the army. I could feel Asuna hold her breath. They weren't enemies to normal players. In fact, they could be considered the group that put in the most effort to stop crimes on the field. But their methods were a little rough, and they were said to attack orange players, who were called that because of the color of their cursors, as soon as they found them, and without asking any questions. Then they'd strip the orange players of their equipment and imprison them in the dungeons of the Black Iron Castle. The rumors about how the army treated people who didn't surrender yet failed to escape were pretty scary. They were also known for traveling in huge parties and taking control of entire hunting ranges, so it was common knowledge among players that they should never go near the army. Well, they usually operated on the 50th floor and below, working on strengthening their group and maintaining order, so it was rare to see them on the front lines. As we watched silently, the 12 heavily armed warriors disappeared into the forest amongst the clanking sounds of their armor and their boots. Seeing as all the players had gotten their hands on the software, we'd say that everyone trapped inside SAO were all game maniacs, who were a race that had no connections to the word whatsoever. Despite that, the fact that these players still showed such orderly movement is amazing. It might even be the strongest unit within the army. After making sure that they had gone out of range on the map, Asuna and I let out a sigh of relief. The rumor, it's true. I whispered to Asuna with my coat still over her. Rumor? Yeah. I heard at the guild meeting that the army was changing how they work and have started appearing on the higher floors. They were once a group that was trying to clear the game, right? But after the damage they received while fighting the boss on the 25th floor, they began focusing on strengthening their group and stopped fighting on the front lines. So rather than going into the labyrinth in enormous numbers like they used to and causing a huge stir, they've decided to send smaller, more elite units in and try to show that they're still endeavoring to clear the game. The report guessed that the first unit would appear soon. So they're advertising their skill. But are they really okay just charging into an unexplored area? They look like they are pretty high levels, but maybe they're trying to beat the boss. Within every labyrinth, there was a boss that guarded the stairs to the next floor. They didn't regenerate, and they were really strong, but the reputation and popularity gained for beating them would be huge. It would be very effective as an advertisement. So they gathered those people? But that's still stupid. Nobody has ever seen the boss at the 74th floor yet. Usually people keep sending reconnaissance groups to analyze the boss's strength and fighting patterns. Well, even guilds work together to beat bosses. Maybe they're doing the same? I don't know. Well, they should know as well that going up against a boss like this is meaningless. We should hurry. I hope that we won't cross paths with them in here. I got up and was a little disappointed that I had to let Asuna go. Asuna shivered as she got out. It's almost winter now. I should buy a coat too. Which shop did you buy that from? It was most probably a player shop in the western area of Algade. Then take me there when we're done exploring. With that said, Asuna jumped down lightly onto the lane. I followed. Because of the system, this height wasn't a problem for me. The sun was almost at its highest point. Asuna and I made our way down the lane quickly while paying attention to our surroundings. Luckily, we got out of the forest without meeting even a single monster, and a meadow full of blue flowers appeared before us. The lane went straight through the meadow, and at its end, the labyrinth area stood proudly. At the highest part of this tower, there would be a huge room, and the boss would be guarding the stairs to the next floor. The 75th floor in this case. If the boss was defeated and someone arrived at the living area of the next floor and activated the teleport gate, then this floor would be cleared. The city opening would be celebrated by a huge crowd of people from the lower floors that came to see the new city, and the whole place would become alive as if there was a festival. Right now, it had been 9 days since people had begun actively exploring the 74th floor. It was about time that somebody discovered the boss. The tower was a cylindrical building made out of reddish-brown limestone. It was the place that Asuna and I had been in numerous times, but he couldn't help feeling intimidated by its immense size. yet that size was only 1/100th of Aincrad. It was a hopeless wish, but secretly, I wanted to see the colossal floating. You couldn't see the unit from the army. It most likely already made it in. You walked towards the entrance, subconsciously quickening your pace. Read along with Sword Art Online, or read on your own time. Go to bakasuki.org, BAKA-TSUKI.org. Sword Art Online, Volume 1, Chapter 9. More than a year had already passed since the Knights of the Blood took the position of the best guild. Since that time, the leader of the guild, the Man of Legends, and the sub-leader Asuna, the Flash, both became renowned as two of the best warriors in Aincrad. Sword Art Online, Volume 1, Chapter 9. More than a year had already passed since the Knights of the Blood took the position of the best guild. Since that time, the leader of the guild, the Man of Legends, and the sub-leader Asuna, the Flash, both became renowned as two of the best warriors in Aincrad. Now I had a chance to watch Asuna, who had finished training the skills needed as a rapier sword fencer, fight against the Northern Monster. We were currently in the middle of a fight, and the enemy was a skeletal swordsman named Demonic Servant. It was over 2 meters tall, surrounded by eerie blue light, and held a huge straight sword in its right hand with a round metal shield in its left. Swordsman named Demonic Servant against the Northern Monster. We were currently in the middle of a fight, and the enemy was a skeletal swordsman named Demonic Servant. It was over 2 meters tall, surrounded by eerie blue light, and held a huge straight sword in its right hand with a round metal shield in its left. Of course, it didn't even have a single muscle, yet, despite that, its strength stat was very high, which made it a hard monster to fight. But Asuna didn't give any ground against it. With this strange cry, the skeleton swung its sword several times, leaving a blue line of light in its wake. It was a 4-hit combo skill, vertical square. As I watched anxiously from a few steps back, Asuna stepped left and right, elegantly dodging all the blows. Even if it was a 2-on-1 situation, we couldn't both fight it at once when confronted with a fully armed enemy. It wasn't forbidden by the system, but when two people were close together in a fight where swords swung to and fro at speeds faster than the eye could follow, it became more of a hindrance than a help. So when partying, a skill that required high levels of teamwork called switching was used. After its full swing, the last blow of the 4 hits missed, and the Demonic Servant's posture fell slightly off balance. Asuna didn't miss the chance and went straight into a counterattack. Switching was used. After its full swing, the last blow of the 4 hits missed, and the Demonic Servant's posture fell slightly off balance. Asuna didn't miss the chance and went straight into a counterattack. The jabs of the silver-white sword landed one after another, all spectacularly hitting their mark, and the skeleton's HP decreased. Each individual blow didn't deliver much damage, but the number of hits was overwhelming. After getting hit by 3 short thrusts, the skeleton's guard went slightly up, and Asuna switched her style to slash twice at its legs. Then, with her blade tip shining blindingly white, she sent 2 strong jabs high and low. It was an 8-hit combo. It was most probably the high-level sword skill named Star Slash. Striking the skeleton accurately with that thin blade, which was usually ineffective against such enemies, was a show of unbelievable skill. The strength that had reduced about 30% of the skeleton's HP was also amazing, but I was lost within the elegance of the actual player. This must be what they mean by sword dancing. Asuna shouted at me, who was standing there dumbly, as if she had eyes on the back of her head. "Kiritoku, switch!" Okay. I rushed to raise my sword, and at the same time, Asuna performed a strong stab. The skeleton deflected the blow with a shield held by its okay. I rushed of the actual player. This must be what they mean by sword dancing. Asuna shouted at me, who was standing there dumbly, as if she had eyes on the back of her head. "Kiritoku, switch!" Okay. I rushed to raise my sword, and at the same time, Asuna performed a strong stab. The skeleton deflected the blow with a shield held by its left hand, and bright sparks came flying off. But that was an already expected outcome. The enemy was left stunned for a moment after guarding against a strong attack, unable to immediately counter. Of course, Asuna was stunned as well after having her attack blocked, but the gap was what was important. I immediately rushed in with a charge-type skill. Making a breakpoint on purpose in the middle of a fight and trading places with a teammate was what was called switching. After making sure with the corner of my eye that Asuna had gotten out of range, I charged fiercely at the enemy. Unless you were a master like her, normal slashing attacks were most effective against opponents with far more gaps in this demonic servant. In this scenario, the most effective would be impact-type weapons like maces. But I, and probably Asuna, didn't have any impact-type skills. The vertical square that I used to hit the enemy all 4 times reduced a lot of its HP. The skeleton reacted slowly. This was because the monster's AI have a tendency to delay a moment before responding when the attacker's pattern suddenly changes. Yesterday, I had to invest a lot of time and effort to make this happen with the Lubricant Man. But when you've got a teammate, one switch is all you needed. This was the biggest advantage of fighting in a party. I parried the counterattack and started a major skill to end the battle. I delivered a strong downward strike to the right, then twisted my wrist and swung back up again. Retracting the trajectory, I went down with a motion similar to that of a golf swing. Every time the sword hit the enemy's body, which was made completely out of bones, there was a sound of impacting, and a flow of orange light came out. The skeleton raised its shield to block the blow that it thought it was going to come from above, but I went against its expectations and rammed it with my left shoulder. Then I sent a vertical swing at the swaying skeleton, and without pause I rammed it again, with my right shoulder this time. It was a skill that overcame the problem of chaining strong attacks together by combining them with tackles, meteor break. Not meaning to brag, but it was a skill that required unarmed fighting skills as well as one-handed sword skills. The enemy's HP took a big hit from all the attacks and was now in the red area. I put all the strength of my body behind the final horizontal left slash of the 7-hit counter. The sword flew straight out the skeleton's neck, drawing a shining arm. The bone broke with a snapping sound, and as the skull flew up into the air, the body fell to the ground like a puppet that had all its strings cut. "We won!" Asuna slapped my back where my sword was now. We pushed the item distribution aside and started walking again. Until now, we had fought with monsters 4 times, but made it through with almost no damage dealt to us. Since Asuna's style involved throwing short jabs, while my style was to chain large skills, it trained the monster's AI, in the sense of algorithms, not the actual CPU's processing abilities, and allowed our skills to match well. There probably is not much of a difference in our levels either. We walked carefully through the magnificent hallway that was lined with pillars. There was no chance of being ambushed with my scan skill, but the echoing of our footsteps kept bothering me. There weren't any sources of light in the labyrinth, but the surroundings gave off a faint, mysterious glow, so we could see pretty well. I carefully inspected the hallway, which was reflecting a soft blue light. The floor was a labyrinth made out of reddish-brown limestone. When I got up, the surroundings were made out of some stone that gave off an almost sticky blue light. The pillars were engraved with impressive but eerie pictures, and a shallow waterway ran by our feet, covering the floor. You could say that the overall atmosphere had gotten heavier. But there weren't many empty spaces left on the map now. If my guess was right, then the area ahead of us was most probably... At the end of the hallway, a pair of gray-blue doors stood waiting for us. The carvings on the door were similar to the ones on the pillars. Even if everything was just a world made solely out of data, an inexplicable aura seeped out of those doors. Is that? Most likely, it's the boss room. Asuna held the sleeve of my coat tight. What should we do? Just looking should be fine, right? In contrast to these bold words, her voice sounded uneasy. Even if she was a top-class swordsman, it seemed that she still found these sorts of things scary. Well, it's to be expected, really. I was scared as well. Well, let's prepare a teleportation item just in case. Yeah. Asuna nodded and took out a blue crystal from her pocket. I prepared my item, too. Ready? I'm going to open it. With my right arm tightly gripped by Asuna, I touched the iron door with my left hand, which held the crystal. If this was the real world, my palms would be flooding with sweat right now. As I slowly put more strength into my hand, the door, which could be at least twice my height, opened with surprising ease. Once it started moving, the two doors opened so quickly that we became a little bewildered. As Asuna and I stood there holding our breaths, the huge doors finished moving with a final crash and revealed to us what was inside. Or so we thought. It was totally dark inside. The light that was filling the hallway we were in didn't seem to reach the end of the room. The thick, cold darkness didn't reveal anything, no matter how much we stared. As soon as I opened my mouth, two white-blue fires whooshed to life a little further in, then another pair, and another pair. Whoosh! With this continuous sound, the path leading to the center of the room was completed in the blink of an eye. At its end, a big pillar of fire blazed upwards, and the rectangular room was filled with blue light. It was quite spacious. It seemed that all the blank space on the map had been in this one room. Asuna hung to my right arm as if to keep her nervousness at bay, but I didn't have enough room in my head to enjoy that feeling. This was because, just behind the pillar of fire, a huge shape had begun to appear. The enormous body was covered with bulging muscles.
It's a
Its skin
jackal.
was dark blue.
Huh?
It's the jackal. Yeah.
Oh.
And the head resting above its thick chest plates was not a man's, but a mountain goat's. Two curved horns towered on either side of its head. Its eyes, also burning bright blue, were locked on us. Its lower body was covered in navy blue fur and couldn't be seen clearly behind the fire, but it seemed that it was also that of an animal. Simply put, it was a demon in every sense of the word. There was a fair distance from the entrance to the middle of the room where it stood. Despite that, we stood frozen in place, unable to move even a muscle. Out of all the monsters we had fought up against until now, this was the first demon-shaped one. It was something that I had gotten used to thanks to the countless RPGs that I had played. But now that I actually saw it, I couldn't hold the fear that rushed up from inside my body. I hesitantly focused my gaze and read the words that had appeared. The Gleam Eyes. It was undoubtedly the boss of this floor. The "the" in front of its name was proof of this. Gleam Eyes. Eyes that gleamed. When I read this far, the blue demon suddenly started shaking its long snout and began screaming. The blue fires shook violently, and vibrations went through the floor of the room. Fiery breaths erupted from its nose and mouth as it raised its sword. Then the blue demon started charging straight for us at an unbelievable speed, causing the ground to shake, without giving us time to even think. Ah! As we started screaming at the same time, we turned 180 degrees and ran as fast as we could. We knew that in theory the boss couldn't come out of its room, but we couldn't just stay there. Entrusting our bodies to the dexterity step that we trained up until now, we ran like a gust of wind down the hallway. To read along with Sword Art Online, or to read on your own time, go to bakasuki.org. BAKA-TSUKI.org. Sword Art Online, Volume 1, Chapter 11. Unfortunately for us, we ran into a group of lizard men on the way up. By the time the 8 of us arrived at the top floor passageway, 30 minutes had already passed, and we still hadn't caught up to the army members. Maybe they've already used their...
Yes.
Sword Art Online, Volume 1, Chapter 9. More than a year had already passed since the Knights of the Blood took the position of the best guild. Since that time, the leader of the guild, the Man of Legends, and the sub-leader Asuna, the Flash, both became renowned as two of the best warriors in Aincrad. Now I had a chance to watch Asuna, who had finished training the skills needed as a rapier sword fencer, fight against a normal monster. We were currently in the middle of a fight, and the enemy was a skeletal swordsman named Demonic Servant. It was over 2 meters tall, surrounded by an eerie blue light, and held a huge straight sword in its right hand with a round metal shield in its lap. Of course, it didn't even have a single muscle, yet, despite that, its strength stat was very high, which made it a hard monster to fight.
I'm gonna read chapter 10 because it's goofing up.
Oh. I hate that.
Hold on a sec. We know what happened. They got up with Klein, and then, you know, they met up with Klein, and they
Oh. Next come.
A huge hammer made of stone stood floating in the endless sky. That was all this world was. It took the various people passing in a month to survey the things. The diameter of the exploded about 10 kilometers. My goodness, the entirety of the above, there were 100 floors that gave balloons on each other. It's sheer sight. I would have
Yeah.
it was impossible to even get some fathom.
well, let's see if it has chapter 10.
Okay.
Really? How much were they?
They're like $10 each. I'm not even kidding.
When exactly are you going to use those?
Use what?
Just the
Another
wigs.
one? Well, I'm using this one right now. I'm gonna use the next one tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm thinking blue. Maybe some. Maybe some.
Gonna be so nice.
I do have a dress like green.
So that means you're gonna stream, but you're gonna cut your mic out so you don't say anything.
Oh my God. I think I'm gonna do that. Yeah, that'd be nice. I don't have to
Like
cut it out.
have the audio playing, but just make sure you don't speak. You're just gonna cut out the mic, so even if you do speak, they can't hear you.
Alright, I'm gonna do that tomorrow. You guys down with that? If you're like, why is she talking so loud?
Just say Sona period. Just like not even care.
Oh no. Where's my animal hoodie? It's in my washing machine.
I want an animal hoodie from this.
I got a Pikachu one.
What?
Yeah, I got a Pikachu
I
one.
want this.
That's it. Well, we know what happens. We know what happens, though.
Yeah.
You meet up with Klein. So you meet up with Klein, and then they deal with the army.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. We know from the anime what happens. So I guess like we don't need all of them. You know.
We do know what happens.
So I guess we don't need all of this. Do you get what I mean?
Yes, I do. I know what you mean. I get you.
Sword Art Online, Volume 1, Chapter 8. The air surrounding the path. Sword Art Online, Volume 1, Chapter 9. More than a Sword Art Online, Volume 1, Chapter 11. Unfortunately for us, we ran into a group of lizard men on the way up. By the time the 8 of us arrived at the top floor passageway, 30 minutes had already passed, and we still hadn't caught up to the army members. Maybe they've already used their crystals to escape. Klein said jokingly, but none of us believed that they would have done that. As a result, we subconsciously sped up our footsteps as we walked down the long passage. When we were about halfway down, a sound that confirmed our fears echoed off the walls. We all immediately stopped to listen. Ah! The noise that we heard was without a doubt a scream. But it didn't belong to a monster. We all looked at each other, then started sprinting. Because of our high dexterity, Asuna and I ran faster than everyone else, and the gap quickly opened up between us and Klein's group. But this wasn't the time for us to care about that. We dashed like the wind through the shining blue corridor in the opposite direction we had gone in last time. Soon the great double doors came into sight. They were already open, and we could see the blue flames flickering inside, with a huge shadow moving slowly within its depth. We also heard the intermittent sounds of screaming and metals clashing. Asuna screamed with grief and accelerated her speed. I followed closely behind her. Our feet were barely touching the ground, as if we virtually flew through the air. I figured that we had already reached the limits of the system's support. Meanwhile, the pillars on either side of the passage flashed past us. As we neared the door, Asuna and I reduced our speed. Sparks flew off our boots, and we managed to stop just barely in front of the gateway. "Hey, are you guys all right?" I shouted and leaned my body forward for a better view. The inside looked like hell. Bluish-white flames were burning all across the floor. A huge figure stood straight in the middle of all this, its body shining as if it was made out of metal. That was the blue demon, the Gleam Eyes. As the Gleam Eyes flourished its enormous Zanbato-like sword around, a huge flaming breath streaked out of its mountain goat head. The damage dealt to it hadn't even reached 1/3 of its HP. Across the room from it, there were a bunch of silhouettes, their sizes tiny compared to the demon. They were the army group, and their members were busy scrambling for their lives. They no longer had any order to speak of. I checked the number of people and immediately noticed that 2 of them were missing. It would be good if they had escaped by using a teleport item, but even as I thought this, one of them was hit by the side of the Zanbato and went flying. His HP had gone into the red danger zone. I don't know how it had gotten to this situation, but the demon had managed to get in between the army members and the exit, and as a result, they couldn't even flee. I shouted at the player who had fallen, "What are you doing? Use your teleport item!" The man looked my way, his face reflecting the bluish color of the flames, and was full of despair. He then shouted, "That doesn't work! The crystals aren't working!" What? I couldn't say anything. Did that mean that this room was an anti-crystal area? It was a rare trap that appeared in dungeons once in a while, but it never happened in a boss room up till now. How can that? Asuna breathed in sharply. This was a case when we couldn't even just rush in and save them. Then, a player on the other side of the demon raised his sword and shouted, "What are you saying? The word retreat does not exist for the Liberation Army! Fight! Fight, I tell you!" It was definitely Cobert's voice. "You bastard!" I screamed. The fact that 2 people had already disappeared in a no-crystal area. It meant that they were already dead, already gone. Something that should be avoided at all costs had already happened, and this idiot was still saying those things? I felt my blood fill with rage.
He's
Hey, what happened? I I quickly told him what the
This is amazing, Darren. You think so?
The army is an idiot, though. The commander of the army is an idiot. I mean, we didn't even need to do chapter 10. I could tell you what happened.
Right. Because you know.
Klein showed up. Okay, basically, Klein showed up. Kirito, you're still alive. I saw this part in the anime. The army took the map. You know,
Right.
Kirito tried to warn them not to go in the boss room. He didn't listen like a complete idiot.
Right.
And about, what would you say, 30% of the army lost their lives.
True to that, right?
I'm just explaining this because chapter 10 isn't existent in this playlist, so this part I will explain. So he tells them that after they flee the boss room, they end up eating. You know, I mean, because Asuna packs lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And then Klein's group showed up.
Okay.
I wish that they had chapter 10 because I wanted him to say Klein's line.
Oh.
I'm Klein. I'm 24 and single and looking for and then
You're funny. I love you. You're cracking me up.
Yeah, but like it doesn't have that, which I could explain. I could explain it. So basically, Klein shows up, says that whole deal, and then the army shows up. Kirito gives them the map so unfortunate. It tells them that the boss is too much for them, and tells them to go rest. But it doesn't. The commander, that idiot, doesn't want to listen.
Right.
And that's where I could probably because I've seen this part in the anime. So.
Oh, you're smart, and you remember, like, I don't remember any of the stinking thing I've seen.
You remember that part, right?
I do, but I can't remember like you can.
Okay.
Aww.
Anyway, as I was saying, that's where the chapter probably ends.
I just want to know you're okay every day.
I'll probably be fine by tomorrow. I even feel okay right now. It's just.
But this morning you woke up and you were pale. It kind of scared me. I love you too.
Alright.
Whatever the situation was. As he heard it, Klein's expression got darker. Isn't there anything we can do? We might be able to run in and make a way for them to get out. But since an emergency escape was impossible in this room, we couldn't ignore the possibility that one of us could die as well. We just didn't have enough people. As I struggled with this thought, Cobra had somehow managed to get his men back into order and shouted, "Charge!" 2 of the 10 had already lost their entire HP and were lying on the ground. The other 8 had gotten into lines of 4 with Cobra in the center, who led the charge with his sword raised high. No! But my voice didn't reach them.
You
It was
idiot.
such a pointless attack.
Cause like he's an idiot. That's suicide. But I saw this part in the anime, I'm like, you idiot. And they end up dying.
All 8 of them ran in together. They wouldn't be able to use their sword skills properly and would only add to the confusion. They should be fighting defensively, rotating in one person at a time to deal damage, and quickly switching out for the next member. The demon straightened up and gave a ground-shaking roar,
That's
before
true.
breathing out a blinding jet of fire. It seemed as if the breath counted as a damage-inflicting attack, and the aim slowed as the blue light of the flames engulfed them. The demon seized its chance and swung its huge sword. The body of a person was knocked into the air, flew over the demon's head, and then crashed hard into the ground before us. It was Covert. His HP had vanished. With an expression that didn't even seem to understand the situation, he slowly moved his mouth. This is impossible, he said soundlessly. Then, with a nerve-rending sound effect that pierced our souls, his body had shattered into a swirl of polygons. Next to me, Asuna gave a short scream at his meaningless death. With their leader gone, the army members immediately fell into chaos. They ran around screaming. All of their HP counts were already below the halfway mark. No, no, no more. As I heard Asuna's strained voice, I glanced sideways towards her. I immediately rushed to grab her arm, but it was already too late. With this scream, Asuna ran off like a gust of wind. She drew her rapier from thin air and charged at the gleam eyes like a flash of light. Asuna! I screamed. With no other choices available, I drew my sword and followed her. Whatever! Klein and his party then shouted and followed suit. Asuna's reckless strike hit the back of the demon while its attention was elsewhere, but its HP hardly decreased at all. The gleam eyes roared, then turned around and swung its Zanbato downwards. Asuna immediately sidestepped to dodge, but she couldn't evade it completely and was knocked down by the shockwave. The second strike then swung towards her without hesitation. Asuna! I felt my body go cold with fear as I flung myself between Asuna and the blade. My sword barely managed to deflect the attack in time. Then, I felt an impact across my whole body as the shockwave hit me. As sparks flew off the two blades, the demon's sword hit the floor only a few centimeters away from Asuna. It dug a hole into the ground with an explosion-like sound effect. Get back! I shouted and prepared for the demon's attack. Its sword came at me repeatedly with a crushing might that felt like it could take my life with one hand. There wasn't any room for me to even attempt a counterattack. The Gleam Eyes techniques were basically two-handed sword skills, but they were slightly customized, which made them impossible to read. I concentrated fully on defending with sidesteps and parries, but its attacks were monstrously powerful and chipped away at my HP with every passing swing. Ah! Eventually, one of its strikes accurately hit my body. I felt its stunning impact, and my HP decreased immensely. My equipment and skills were far from those of a tank. If I kept this up, it would only lead to my death. The fear of dying seemed to chill down my body. I couldn't even try to escape anymore. There was only one thing I could do. I would have to go against it with everything I had as a damage dealer. Asuna! Climb! Give me 10 seconds! I shouted and swung my sword hard to block the demon's blow and make a break for it. Then, I flung myself to the ground and rolled away. Klein immediately took my place and kept the demon back with his katana. But Klein's katana and Asuna's rapier were weapons that relied on speed and therefore lacked in weight. I figured that it wouldn't be easy for them to block the demon's Zanbato. As I laid on the ground, I opened the menu with my left hand. I couldn't afford to make a single mistake now. My heart pounding against my chest, I began moving the fingers of my right hand. I scrolled down my item list, picked something from it, and equipped it in the blank space on my equipment profile. Then I opened the Windows skill and changed my weapon skill. After finishing all this, I touched the OK button and closed the menu. I confirmed the additional weight on my back, then raised my head and shouted, "I'm done!" I saw Klein get hit once, and his HP decreased as he stepped back. Normally, he should have used a crystal to heal himself. That wasn't possible in this room. Now, Asuna was fighting with a demon, and within just a few seconds, her HP had already gone below the halfway mark and turned yellow. After she heard me, Asuna nodded with her back towards me and gave a short shout before executing a piercing skill. Yeah! A white streak of light flew through the air and struck the Gleam-Eye's weapon, causing sparks to spray out. As a loud noise resounded, the distance between Asuna and the demon widened. Switch! I didn't miss the opportunity and charged straight at the enemy. The demon quickly recovered from the short stunning effect and raised its sword high up into the air. With the sword in my right hand, I blocked the demon's blade as it came down from a flame-like trajectory. Then I reached behind my back with my left hand and grabbed the handle of the new sword. I drew it and struck in one smooth movement. The demon's HP reduced noticeably as the first clean hit registered. The demon roared with rage and attempted another downward strike. This time, I crossed my toothed swords and blocked it completely. As its stance became unbalanced, I decided to break free from my defending strike and launched a combo attack. My right sword slashed horizontally towards the demon's midsection. My left sword followed immediately to cut vertically into its body. Right, left, then right again. I swung my swords as if the nerves in my brain were going into overdrive. The sounds of metal clashing resounded loudly, one after another, as white lights flared through the air. This was an extra skill that I had been hiding, dual blades, and the technique I was using was its high-class sword skill, Starburst Scream, a 16-hit combo attack. Ah! Paying no attention to the few hits that the demon's sword managed to block, and the technique I was using was its high-class sword skill, Starburst Scream, a 16-hit combo attack. Ah! Paying no attention to the few hits that the demon's sword managed to block, I kept on screaming as I hacked away relentlessly with my swords. My eyes heated up, and my vision saw only the demon. Although the demon's sword still struck my body every so often, its impact felt like it was happening in some faraway world. Meanwhile, adrenaline continued to rush through my body. My brainwaves spiked every time my swords hit their mark. Faster! Faster! The rhythm of my swings already exceeded twice the normal speed, but it still felt slow to my heightened senses. I continued to attack at a pace that seemed to overtake even the system's assistant. Ah! With this shout, I launched the last of my 16 strikes, which penetrated the Gleam-Eye's chest. When my senses returned, I realized that I wasn't the only one screaming. The huge demon was roaring towards the ceiling as massive breath streamed out of its mouth and nose. Then its body froze, and as soon as I noticed that, the Gleam-Eye shattered into countless blue shards. Fragments of blue light rained down across the room. It's finished. Feeling dizzy from the after effects of the battle, I habitually swung both of my swords once more before simultaneously sheathing them into the scabbards that lay crossed on my back. I immediately checked my HP. There was a red line with only a few dots left. As I stared at my HP without care, I suddenly felt strength leave my body and collapsed onto the floor without a sound. My vision faded out into blackness. To read along with Sword Art Online, or just to read on your own time, go to bakasuki.org, BAKA-TSUKI.org. Sword Art Online, Volume 1, Chapter 12.
This is cool, Dan. I know we already read this and stuff because of this, but would you actually like to buy it and
I probably won't be able to read it because it's in Japanese.
Well, I'm talking about as being for if they had tapes, like, voice recorder, or not voice recorder, You there?
Yeah.
Okay. Just didn't want my thing, Okay.
Ostina's calls, which were almost like screams, forced me to awake. As I sat up, pain spiked through my head and caused my face to distort. Ow! I looked around and saw that we were still in the boss room. Blue light fragments were still floating around the room. It seemed like I had only lost consciousness for a few seconds. Asuna was kneeling on the ground, her face... Sword Art Online, Volume 1, Chapter 12. Asuna's calls, which were almost like screams, forced me to awake. As I sat up, pain spiked through my head and caused my face to distort. Ow! I looked around and saw that we were still in the boss room. Blue light fragments were still floating around the room. It seemed like I had only lost consciousness for a few seconds. Asuna was kneeling on the ground, her face right before my eyes. Her eyebrows were tight and she was biting her lip. It looked like she was going to cry.
Idiot. Why?
She shouted and then jumped into my arms and hugged me. It shocked me enough to make me forget my pain for a moment. I could only spike through my head and caused my face to distort. Sword Art Online, Volume 1, Chapter 12. Asuna's calls, which were almost like screams, forced me to awake. As I sat up, pain spiked through my head and caused my face to distort. Ow! I looked around and saw that we were still in the boss room. Blue light fragments were still floating around the room. It seemed like I had only lost consciousness for a few seconds. Asuna was kneeling on the ground, her face right before my eyes. Her eyebrows were tight and she was biting her lip. It looked like she was going to cry.
Idiot. Why?
She shouted and then jumped into my arms and hugged me. It shocked me enough to make me forget my pain for a moment. I could only blink in surprise. Don't hug me so tightly. I'm going to make my HP disappear, I said in a joking tone, but Asuna responded with a really angry expression. She shoved a small bottle into my mouth. The liquid which flowed in was a high-quality potion that tasted like a combination of lemon juice and green tea. It should fully heal my HP within 5 minutes. My fatigue was going to last a while. Asuna checked to confirm that I had drunk all of it. Then, as her face began to scrunch up, she put her forehead on my shoulder to hide it. I raised my head at the sound of footsteps and saw Klein approach. He seemed a little apologetic for disturbing us, but started speaking nevertheless. We finished killing all the remaining army members, but Cobert and his 2 men had already died. Yeah, it's the first time since the 67th floor that someone died during a boss fight. It wasn't even a fight! That idiot Cobert! You can't do anything if you're dead! Klein spat out. He took a deep breath, shook his head, and asked me in an attempt to change the mood. But, back to the topic. What the hell was that just then? Do I really have to explain it to you? Of course! I've never seen something like that before. I suddenly noticed that aside from Asuna, everyone in the room was looking at me, waiting for my reply. It's an extra skill. Dual. It's the first time since the 67th floor that someone died during a boss fight. It wasn't even a fight! That idiot Cobert! You can't do anything if you're dead! Klein spat out. Then he took a deep breath, shook his head, and asked me in an attempt to change the mood. But, back to the topic. What the hell was that just then? Do I really have to explain it to you? Of course! I've never seen something like that before. I suddenly noticed that aside from Asuna, everyone in the room was looking at me, waiting for my reply.
Oh, he must have got some help.
Yeah.
Because Asuna has a different voice actor.
Oh.
Or actress.
It's an extra skill. Dual blades. Expressions of amazement rose throughout Klein's party and the survivors of the army. All weapon skills had to be learned in a certain order depending on their type. Take swords, for example. You had to train the one-handed straight sword skill quite a bit before rapier and two-handed sword beard and less. Naturally, Klein was interested, and he urged me to tell me the rest. The conditions that have to be met are... I'd have told everyone if I knew that. As I shook my head, Klein sighed and muttered, "You're right." Weapon skills that didn't have clear conditions for appearing are called extra skills. They were sometimes even called random conditions. An example would be Klein's katana. But katana wasn't all that rare and appeared quite often as long as you kept training the current sword skill. Most of the 10 plus extra.
Hold on, let me see what's on TV.
Unique abilities and goals.
Sumo, we gotta get those coupons back.
What's the big deal?
I don't know exactly what they do. They must be like mom money or something. But all I know is that my mom needs them, and we're gonna get them back.
Wow, there's newspaper just sitting on the store that full of those things. And I wish you could just spin them on and chat.
Let's go get some coupons.
Yeah, man, here they come.
See you later, Gator.
Can anybody else see this?
Oh, wow, that one. Come on,
Joshua. Oh, look, avocados half off. I had 7 coupons for that. Oh, well, like just a superfood that makes it live longer, because I don't need that. So.
Mom, look. I got your coupons back.
What? Clarence? How did you get all these coupons? They're all here.
Oh, don't worry about it. I got my resources.
Clarence, is that?
Come on, let's go. What is this? You chasing a child?
No, he stole all the coupons. It's against store policy, sir.
All right, easy, Maverick. How about we go and talk in my office?
Nice one, Joshua. Good Josh.
Did you know they got free cookies? I'm gonna say like 2 bags worth. And then this old lady thought that I was steak. And then me and Sumo had about a fist boy. Let me give you the gist of it. He's like, and then we ate some more cookies.
Oh, wow. It sounds like you weren't too bored after all, huh?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Oh, man, Clarence, you missed the best day ever.
I did?
Get this. They've been playing only game shows all day long. It's been awesome. You had to be here.
Oh, Pax.
What did you do?
I went shopping with my mom. Oh, and Sumo was there, and we like went on a little mission, and we had to get coupons. It was really crazy.
Oh, yeah? Let's get going.
We're back, and the bidding will start with Tina. Tina, you are bidding on a bottle of wet clean cleaning detergent. Can you guess the price?
Hey, man, you guys, I know this.
Come on, lady. It's got to be at least $12.99.
$7.50, sir.
And the actual retail price is $12.99.
What?
I told her. That ain't a Blandex.
Let's do something else.
Who's gonna catch me? Looking to catch up with Clarence? Now's your chance. We're lighting up every single episode of our newest series, the Memorial Day Clarence Marathon. Tomorrow afternoon at 4/3 Central, only on Cartoon Network. Now here's a little something special from Uncle Grandpa. That's a pretty cool picture. Show us the computer for your pizza, Steve.
So bad, can you best believe?
We come to bring the heat while we talk long. Hotter than your favorite hot sauce.
Yo, it's Pizza Steve, aka PS. But when I'm on the mic, I be fresh, straight from the oven. Hate it or love it, my cheese is thick and my crust is rugged.
It's your Uncle Grandpa, your grandmother Mike. It's my pizza. I gotta take part. It's called the Arby's. Where's the mustard for my hot
serious. If you step to guts, cause guts will get furious. The waters run deep, and now the deepest profound sound better than the wicked speak. G crushes bones who deserve the meat. It's now G at the F and on the weekend. So as I end this verse, let me just say the big G ain't crooked. Get the party underway. Wait, hold up. Who wants to join the cypher? It's giant realistic flying tiger.
What are you doing?
Little grandpa, only a
chicken nuggets. Yeah, and fries.
Huh?
And fries.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Not in a drink.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Hey, dog, look for water.
You need some? Oh. Hey, Darren, are you gonna get finished with this, or?
Yeah. I was. Yeah, I was just checking it was on 2 years old.
Commercials at Nichols.com. Hold on tight, don't forget to do it.
You gonna get back there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Skills that have been found up until now, Katana included, and at least 10 people who had used each of them. The only exceptions were my conditions. An example would be Klein's Katana, but Katana wasn't all that rare and appeared quite often as long as he kept training the curved sword skill. Most of the 10 plus extra skills that had been found up until now, Katana included, and at least 10 people who had used each of them. The only exceptions were my dual blades and one other man's extra skill. These two are most likely limited to only one person, so they should be called unique skill. I'd hidden the existence of my unique skill up until now. Much of today, news that I was the second unique skill user was spread throughout the world. There was no way I could hide it after using it in front of so many people. I'm disappointed, Kirito. You didn't even tell me that you had such an awesome skill. I would have told you if I knew the conditions for its appearance, but I couldn't figure out how it happened. I answered Klein's complaint with a shrug. There wasn't a shred of lie in what I said. About a year ago, I opened my skills menu one day and found the name Dual Blades just sitting there. I really had no clue on what conditions made it appear. Since then, I only trained it when there was nobody around. Even after I nearly mastered it, I rarely used it against monsters unless it was an emergency. Aside from using it to protect myself in a crisis, I simply didn't like this kind of skill due to the attention it draws. I even thought it would be better if another Dual Blades user appeared. I scratched the area around my ear and muttered, if it became known that I had to learn a skill, not only would people pester me for information, it would attract other kinds of problems too. I nodded. Online gamers get jealous easily. I wouldn't, since I'm an understanding guy, but there are certainly plenty of envious people. Not to mention. Klein suddenly stopped talking and looked at Asuna, who was still tightly hugging me and smiling meaningfully. Well, just consider suffering as another way of training yourself, young kitty doll. So to you, it's just someone else's problem. Klein bent over and thumped me on the shoulder, then turned around and walked towards the survivors of the army. Hey, you guys, you think you'll be able to make it back to HQ by yourselves? One of them nodded at Klein's question. It was a boy who looked like he was in his teens. Okay, tell your superiors what happened here today, and that they shouldn't do something this stupid again. Yes, and thank you. Thank him over here.
Idiot.
Klein pointed my...
Yeah, idiot.
I mean, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Whole thing could have been avoided if Clovold, I think that's his name, wasn't gonna be like a total idiot. You know?
Right. Do that, right?
Yeah. Let me just turn up the fan.
Is it getting cold or is it off?
I'm hot.
Oh, okay, so you want it on. Alright, gotcha.
I'm gonna turn it up to full power.
Okay. I found a Mexican page for Amanda Salinas to add herself to.
No way.
There's like nations like groups that are for like Mexicans and stuff. I found one for her so she can add herself to it. Maybe she can like talk to other Mexicans and stuff, you know?
I'm just waiting for it to slow down.
Really?
No.
No, I wasn't talking to him.
So just hear that shot.
You okay?
Yeah. It's just hot.
You have your window open or closed?
Close.
Just keep the fan on. Hopefully, keep it cool in there for you. I should look for like. Peeking ears. You okay over there? Is it like messing up or something?
No, it's fine. It just turned off.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't help that I'm sweaty.
Yeah, it's you're gonna start getting that way since it's starting to become summer.
Feels much better.
Oh, yeah, plug this in.
Alright.
So,
We're gonna continue this, right? We're gonna continue this, alright?
Huh?
We're gonna continue this, alright?
Alright.
Anyway, he's a complete idiot.
You're like Chris?
Yeah, like Chris. And I still have beef with him because every year, this has to happen.
Well, you know, I've tried to tell him how many times I've tried to tell that kid that I don't have the feelings for him. He just don't get it.
Stop. I know prom was a week ago, but I still have, you know.
Right.
You should stop.
Yes.
I saw Z. I can't believe I saw Z though.
Mm-hmm. Hasn't he changed?
Yeah. I feel like my tits stink.
Aww.
Yeah, I sweated off my deodorant.
It's that hot in the house?
What?
Yeah, it's that hot in the house.
Well, it's hot because I don't have the door open either.
Oh, right.
Just
I
because,
kind of took a nap myself too, Dan.
when you're my grandpa want me to keep the door open, but like I don't want the sound to escape and then don't know what I'm.
Right, it's alright.
This isn't.
I can't help it, and then I'll help.
This isn't bad. It's just a swear words of it.
Right.
Like bastard. You know.
Mm-hmm.
The players from the army stood up shakily, turned towards Asuna and I.
No, I took a nap too, Dan.
What?
I kind of took a nap too.
Okay.
Aww.
Yeah. Anyway, Chris was being a total idiot. All I wanted was the fish.
Yeah, all I wanted was a great prom with you.
Yeah. Then he has to ruin it.
I don't know if he was doing that on purpose or not. Like, come on.
Well, when something like that happens, you like.
Well, at prom, I told him I didn't like him like that. I like him as a friend. Because I hate you. Like, come on.
Yeah, don't be like that, dude.
You shouldn't do that to anyone.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? They have a Fairly Odd Parents special on tomorrow.
Do they? You gonna watch it? Are you guys doing anything tomorrow? No.
I'm gonna try to get outside.
I think you should.
Clarathon. Catch every single episode. Find out what.
Try to get outside and spend the time outside too, you know.
Much time.
Do stuff.
They were fake.
Of course they were fake. This is what a real mustache looks like. All right. Enough cab.
What are you gonna do to us?
Plankton was very specific.
Plankton?
For some reason, he wanted me to step on him. up on us? Yeah, that way you'll never find out that he stole the crown. Perhaps I've said too much. That's a big boot. Don't worry. This will only hurt a lot. I love this job.
Hey, Darren, can I ask you a question?
This figure could save our lives.
Hey! Thank you, stranger.
Hey, Darren,
What?
can I ask you something?
Yeah.
How did you hear him say that?
I heard him say that because you were crying from like before,
Yeah.
which I didn't mean to do. I just didn't hear you. I didn't mean to yell at you. I just didn't hear you.
I love you. Okay?
I didn't hear you.
It's okay, Darren. I just want to know, how did you hear him say that, though?
No, he came over and like asked you if you're okay, and you know I still love you and shit. And it's like, you know,
Alright. Are we going to camp at all tomorrow? Since, like,
I'm gonna try to get outside.
yeah, but are we going to camp at all, though?
Yeah, we are.
In the morning?
I'm gonna watch some Digimon because I need to get.
What time are we going to camp, Darren?
In the morning.
Okay.
But it depends on how I feel. You know?
Well, we have to camp somehow tomorrow.
No. If I don't feel pale again. You know what I mean?
What? For what? Camping or going outside?
No. Like, I woke up and I was pale.
I know.
Like, really pale.
I know you were.
Hug.
Are you okay?
You're mine, right?
Yes, I am. But are we gonna camp in the morning or no?
We're gonna camp in the morning.
Okay.
I wish I had that pop blocker though.
What's that?
All you have to do is do it.
We should have it where we have our own selves on one page.
What?
Like a Facebook without anyone else.
No, Facebook's fine.
No, I'm just saying, just for us to be, you know, with our pictures and
Do we have one of those?
I don't know. So,
Before walking out of the room. Once they reached the passageway, they used their crystals to teleport
I
out
have
one after
me and
another.
Connor.
What?
I said I have one for me and Connor.
Hug?
Aww.
I don't know.
How do we do?
Mm.
Aww.
But tomorrow I think I'm gonna catch up on Rooster shit.
What are we gonna camp tomorrow though, right?
Yes, we are gonna camp tomorrow.
Okay.
But tomorrow I'm gonna catch up on Rooster shit.
Okay.
So we might just stream early.
Why?
Yeah.
What time does it start?
What?
What time does it start?
7:30.
Oh, 7:30?
Yeah.
We don't have to stream early. We can just, well, yeah, we can, I guess. Like, we can, because
After the blue lights faded,
we can go from, like, that to, like, 7:30 and you're gonna get off and do that. You're gonna have to get off at like 8 anyway, cause you go go in arcade the next day, aren't you?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's fine.
And I want to go to dance too. Yeah.
Right.
That's why I'm trying to. That's why I'm trying to feel better.
Yeah. You will feel better.
Was that you or me?
That was me. I am scanning. I have viruses.
You have to.
I had two viruses and then I took off. Nice.
You took them out.
I got them.
You should probably scan mine too. We'll probably do it later.
Yeah, do it later.
I love you so much.
I love you so much too, sweetie.
Ready?
I can tell you, you will feel better tomorrow.
Yes.
So, I think you probably just, I don't know.
I thought my sugar intake was over that.
You should feel okay. You'll be alright.
Ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Yes, and thank you. Thank him over here. Klein pointed my way with his thumb. The players from the army stood up shakily, turned towards Asuna and I, who were still on the floor. Back to HQ yourselves. One of them nodded at Klein's question. It was well, just consider suffering as another way of training yourself, young kitty doll. So to you, it's just someone else's problem. Klein bent over and thumped me on the shoulder, then turned around and walked towards the survivors of the army. Hey, you guys, you think you'll be able to make it back to HQ by yourselves? One of them nodded at Klein's question. He was a boy who looked like he was in his teens. Okay, tell your superiors what happened here today, and that they shouldn't do something this stupid again. Yes, and thank you. Thank him over here. Klein pointed my way with his thumb. The players from the army stood up shakily, turned towards Asuna and I, who were still on the floor, and bowed deeply before walking out of the room. Once they reached the passageway, they used their crystals to teleport out, one after another. After the blue lights faded, Klein put his hand on his hips and started speaking. Well, let's see. We're going to continue on to the 75th floor and open the gate there. How about you? You're the man of the day, so do you want to do it? No, I'll leave it to you. I'm totally white. That's the case, so be careful on your way back. Klein nodded and signaled to his teammates. The six walked over to the huge door in the corner of the room. Behind it should be the stairs to the next floor. Katana Wielder stopped in front of the door and turned around. Hey, Kirito. You know when you jumped in to save those army members? What about it? I was, well, really glad. That's all I have to say. See you around sometime. I don't get what he was trying to say. As I cocked my head, Klein gave me a thumbs up, and then opened the door and disappeared through it with his party. Only Asuna and I were left in the huge boss room. The blue flames that had been flaring up from the floor had disappeared some time ago. The sinister atmosphere that had once filled the room had vanished without a trace. The soft light that had filled the passageway now flooded this room as well. Not a single sign of a battle remained. I said something to Asuna, who still had her head against my shoulder. Hey, Asuna. Her shaking voice was weaker than I had ever heard it. What are you talking about? You were the one who charged it first. I said this as I softly placed my hand on Asuna's shoulder. A manner infraction flag would have come up if I grabbed her too blatantly, but this really wasn't a situation where I didn't worry about that. As I gently pulled her towards me, my ears almost missed her small voice. Take a break. Why? As I soon heard that, somewhere deep within my heart, I feeling that can only be described as a strong longing reached out. It surprised even me. I, solo player Kirito, was a person who had abandoned every other player in order to keep myself alive in this world. I was the coward who had turned his back on his only friend and ran away 2 years ago, the day that all of this had started. A person like me, who didn't even have any right to wish for a comrade, let alone something more than that. I'd already realized this in a painful and unforgettable way. I'd sworn never to wish again, never to yearn for the care of others. But my left hand, which had turned rigid, didn't want to let go of Asuna's shoulder. I couldn't pull myself away from the virtual warmth of her body. I buried a huge, contradicting conflict inside of me with an inexplicable emotion, and then answered with a short reply. Okay. After hearing my response, Asuna's head nodded slightly on my shoulder. The next day, I'd been hiding on the 2nd floor of Agiel's shop since this morning. I was sitting on a rocking chair with my legs crossed and was drinking a strangely flavored tea, which I figured was probably a defective product. I was in a rather foul mood. All of Valgate, no, most probably all of Aincrad was busy discussing the events of yesterday. Floor clearing, which meant the opening of a new city, was already enough to start an exorbitant amount of gossiping. But this time, various other rumors had also been mixed in, like the demon that wiped out a whole army battalion, and the twin-blade swordsman that killed the demon by himself with his 50 hits. There should be a limit on how much they can exaggerate these things by. Somehow they had found out where I lived. As a result, swordsmen and information dealers had crowded around my house since early morning. I ended up having to go through all the trouble of using a teleport crystal to escape. I'm going to move to some super rural floor, some village where they'll never be able to find me. As I endlessly muttered my complaints, Agiel walked over to me with a smile. Hey, don't be like that. It's good to become famous for once in your life. Why don't I host a presentation? I'll take care of the tickets and the venue. No way. I shouted and threw the cup in my right hand, aiming for the area about 50 centimeters to the right of Agiel's head. But I habitually made the motion which activated my throw weapon skill and hurled the cup towards the wall at a high speed. The cup left a trail of light before it smashed into the wall with a loud noise. Thankfully, the room was an indestructible object, so nothing else happened other than the appearance of the immortal object system tag. If I'd hit a piece of furniture, it would have been destroyed for sure. Ah! Are you trying to kill me here? At the shopkeeper's exaggerated shout, I raised my right hand as a sign of apology, then leaned back against the chair once more. Agiel was currently examining the treasure I had received from yesterday's fight. Every once in a while, he would make a strange noise, which most probably meant that there was some pretty valuable goods in there. I planned to equally share with Asuna the money I would get from selling the loot, but it was already past the promised meeting time, she still hadn't arrived. I'd already sent her a friend message, so she should know where I was. We parted at the main street teleport gate of the 74th floor yesterday. She said that she was going to apply for a break and went to the KOB HQ in Brandon on the 55th floor. I asked her if I should go with her, given the trouble with Purdy and all. She said it was fine with a smile on her face, so I abandoned the thought. It was already 2 hours past the promised time. If she was this late, did it mean something had happened? Should I have gone with her? I downed a cup of tea in a single gulp in order to calm my anxieties. Just as I had drained the teapot before me, Agiel had finished his examination of my items, I'd heard the footsteps running up the stairs. Then the door quickly crashed open. Hey, Asuna. I'd almost said, you're late, but stopped myself. Asuna was in her uniform as usual, but her face was white, and worry shone through her eyes. She held both her hands in front of her chest, bit her lip twice or thrice, and then said, she forced out in a voice that was close to tears.
Something bad is.
After drinking some newly boiled tea, life managed to return to Asuna's face, and she started explaining a bit hesitatingly. Agiel moved back down to the first floor after noticing the atmosphere. Asuna, who was sitting opposite of me, lowered her eyes and grabbed her teacup tightly before before she continued. What? I couldn't understand what she meant for a moment. Fight? Did that mean a duel? What did a duel have to do with Asuna taking a break? When I asked these questions, Asuna shook her head while looking at the floor.
I tried to persuade him that there's no need in doing that. Just listen to me.
But this is problematic. That guy has suddenly presented a condition like this. I muttered as the image of the guild leader flashed through my mind.
I know. I wish I was.
Fight? Did that mean a duel? Asuna, who was sitting opposite of me, that fine with a smile on her face, so I abandoned the thought. It was already 2 hours past normal time. She was this late. You mean something happened? Could I have gone with her? I downed a cup of tea in a single gulp in order to calm my anxiety. Just as I had drained the teapot before me and Miguel had finished his examination of my items, I had heard the footsteps running up the stairs. Then the door quickly crashed open. Hey, Asuna. I almost said you're late, but stopped myself. Asuna was in her uniform as usual, but her face was white and worry shone through her eyes. She held both her hands in front of her chest, bit her lip twice or thrice, and then said, she forced out a voice that was close to tears.
Yeah. But then I shouldn't do that because I know you're a real smart guy, and you know that it's hot in here. Right? Not. Can I shut that up for a minute?
You gotta go ahead and use it, right?
Alright, you can go back on.
Yeah, I only turned on the closed captioning because it was hard for me to hear. So that way I could read it.
Oh, sweet.
Anyway, I'll be right back, okay?
Alright, you want me to get off and watch it?
Yeah.
Alright. Love you, Darren.
Love you too. And if I come back and it's late, I might just get off.
Okay.
But if it's like, you know, if it's like,
Now, what did you say?
if it's like really late, then I might just get off. Anyway, go ahead and get off.
Say goodnight to me, though?
Yes.
Alright, good.
Anyway,
Please
just go ahead
I'll
and
get.
get off.
Alright. Don't be so sad, Darren.
I'm not that. Actually, I'm really gonna. Actually, I'm starting to feel better.
You okay, though?
Yeah.
Alright. I'll see you back on, alright?
Alright. I will be right back.